parents and the children could have fun together.
Please board quickly and safely. Our monorail will be departing momentarily.
Welcome to the My DVC Points podcast. Join the conversation as DVC members share their stories, personal preferences, and magical memories. Your reservation is confirmed, your fast passes are booked. Pull up on the yellow strap because our journey into the magic of membership is about to begin.
To infinity and beyond.
Now, here's your host and curator of magical stories, Chad Pennycuff.
Welcome home, neighbors, to the My DVC Points podcast. My name is Chad. I am your host tonight, and we are doing our monthly recap report with DVC Resale Market, going over a couple of their blog posts. Right of First Refusal, that's what Disney bought back last month. So if I go to sell you, the listener, my contract, we've got to write it up. DVC Resale Market does. They submit it to Disney. Disney looks at this and says, hey, we want to step in and become the buyer at that price, Chad. So at that point in time, you, the seller, out of luck. My contract goes to closing and Disney is the buyer and you're not. If you're buying a resale contract right now, it's a little bit scary, but not as bad as it has been in the past. So that is Right of First Refusal. We talk about what the mouse is buying back every month. Then we talk about average resale prices in terms of what's up, what's down, what we think is a good deal, what you should be looking at, and anything kind of thing that gives us something to talk about and some, chatter, right? And then the final thing we talk about is inventory, because it's real estate and a high supply of inventory will drive the market down. And when supply goes down, prices go up. It's just a supply and demand curve. So to make through all of this data and make sense of it, I want to welcome Miss Jodi Gross to the show.
Hi.
How you doing today, Jodi?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I can't complain. It's a sunny Sunday afternoon here in Walt Disney World.
It is.
We are catching up. I mean, it is 80 something degrees out, 92 now. It was 84 when I looked out this morning. So 92. And man, I miss Michigan summers right now, Jodi. I ain't going to lie.
I don't blame you one bit. I wish I was somewhere a little cooler, but I did spend the day in my pool, so that made it a little more bearable.
Yeah, I'm going to have to come over and crash your pool sometime,
Anytime,
Jodi. So
anytime.
Look out for it. I'm coming.
Yep.
So Right of First Refusal last month, Jodi. What went on in the mouse's money?
I mean, they have been buying some back more than, like you mentioned in your intro, more than they have in the recent months, but nothing like it was like last year or the year before when seemed like they were buying 50% of the inventory. They weren't, but that's what it felt like. But they've been buying back. It looks like Old Key West, Polynesian, and Grand Floridian are sort of their ones.
Darling gems right now.
Yeah. Old Key West.
I mean, they've left Animal Kingdom alone for months.
Yeah.
But we can look at this chart really quick and see what they bought back last month and the highest prices. So Old Key West at $80. If you're selling Old Key West that cheap, I think you deserve to get bought back. That's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
Grand Floridian at $145 when we're seeing like $168 prices.
Yeah. I don't blame them for buying that one back. That's whoever got that, did negotiate a good deal, but I guess it was too good of a deal because Disney wanted it.
Yeah. And then Polynesian, the highest they bought back was $154. So I imagine Disney's going to have like Polynesian points coming out their ears here in a few days when they start selling that new Polynesian Island Tower, the Pit. Okay.
I hadn't heard anyone.
Who thinks of these acronyms at Disney when they name stuff?
I hadn't heard that before. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's the Pit. And it's almost as good as Ailing Swirling Saucers, right? It's, yeah.
Probably could have workshopped that a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If we look at this, in order to get the number count for what was bought last month, we got to go back to June's. And so we're currently looking at July 7, 25, 32. And we can scroll down here to last month and see 5, 20, 23. So it looks like 2 Grand Flow were bought back, 12 Old Key West were brought back, and 2 Polynesians. What are your thoughts there, Jodi?
A bit surprised at the Polynesian because they're going to be selling that. So that's a little odd to me. I mean, to me, the Old Key West makes sense. They're going to slap the extension on it and sell it for double the price that they're kind of selling for on resale. And I guess Grand Floridian, they're not buying a lot, but it makes sense. Those prices were pretty low. And I guess They might still have a strong demand for the Grand Floridian. So I suppose they could resell that. But I was a little surprised at how aggressive they are being with Polynesian, being that they're going to be
The
selling
Poly
their
one
own.
is what really shocks me.
Yeah.
Because they're getting ready to have a few million points here for sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they
that's a little weird, but
really have to have, to me, they either really have to have some faith and confidence that that's going to sell quickly, or they're looking at it and going, hey, cash price for these rooms are roughly 500 points a night. And the DVC equivalent, if they own it, is maybe 150, 200 a night. And that's a pretty good gap that they could be making if they just take the Polynesian rooms and sell them for cash.
Right.
So I don't think they're opposed to that business model, because you look at how long Aulani has gone to sell out.
yes.
And I was just there this summer and it was packed. There was not a room available anyplace in the resort.
Yeah. So they're selling a lot on cash.
Which tells
there.
me there's a lot of cash rooms going right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yep.
which again, I think that's part of the beauty of DVC, Jodi, is Disney's out there aggressively getting top dollar for these rooms that we're buying on DVC. And I think that's one reason why we have such a viable resale market.
For sure.
And it's kind of the only timeshare I know of that has broad general appeal across the entire platform.
Yeah, totally agree.
We kind of have some of our dogs, okay, so to speak. But just looking at this, we're looking at average sales prices, and we can either compare them from last year to this year, which you can see the market is down significantly from last summer to this summer. But even if I like looking at month to month.
Yeah,
myself.
or the last few
you're
months.
more of a year over year.
Yeah, a year ago, I mean, it's certainly a benchmark, but so much changes in a year, so that I tend to look at what it's done since the beginning of the year, so like year to date, and then I look at the last few months to see if there's any big swings. And the good news is in the last few months, they've stayed pretty stable. Some have gone up a few dollars, some have come down a few dollars, but the last few months seem to have been balancing out quite a bit. I mean, Riviera had a big swing, but that's kind of an anomaly because we don't sell that many. It's not like a Saratoga or Animal Kingdom where a big swing would kind of be.
It's just flying off the shelves.
Yeah. And probably the biggest change was the Polynesian price change just from like the beginning of the year. It's gone up $27 per point on average since January.
And that's attributable to this new tower being part of the old condo association.
For sure.
So if you buy resale now, you're going to be able to stay in this brand new tower that's opening up.
Right.
An 11-month book that. That's a glorious thing. So I think that's the only reason that's pulling Poly up.
Oh, for sure. Because a lot of people were holding on, hesitant to buy in because they were worried or weren't sure if it was going to be part of the same association or not. And then once they figured out that it was going to be part of the same, the prices did start to climb up.
Yeah. Polynesian, I'm a little shocked that it's went up this much, but I'm not super shocked because it seems like this is up more than Grand Flow was at the same points and times in their announcement of the addition.
Yeah.
But as a Poly owner, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that trend continues once they open the tower and what the prices will be and what incentives will be. We'll see if it affects the resale prices significantly or not.
And then, moving down to our non-Walt Disney World resorts, Aulani at under $100 is mind blown because you've got 30 some odd years left on that contract, and it is an amazing resort.
It is.
So Disneyland Tower didn't sell anything last month, and that doesn't really shock me either.
Right.
Because it's still pretty new and the incentives are still pretty good. And
Yeah. I mean,
one thing we can see. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it's whenever a new resort comes out like that, it's even Riviera is still a tough one to track because although it's been around obviously a lot longer, it's still not one. It's one of the ones with restrictions in it, and it is a move. We don't sell the volume that we do of the other resorts, so that's always kind of a hard one to track. But whenever a new resort gets put on the market, they don't usually sell super fast because a lot of people financed them, and then they got to try and sell it for at least to pay.
Yeah, they're upside down in it.
Yeah, so it just doesn't work a lot of the time, but for some it does.
Yeah, it's kind of like buying a car, and as soon as you drive it off the lot, value is gone.
Yes.
And so it takes a while for you to pay down the loan and catch the loan up to the resale value of your car.
Exactly.
It's the same principle at work.
For sure.
You know, when I mentioned earlier we don't have too many dogs, it's really just the 2 beach resorts that we have. And the only reason why I think they're priced so low compared to everything else is the dues are so high.
100%.
Because they're both on the coast. Both of these guys are on the East Coast where hurricanes happen. And
yeah. And I mean, they are one of the 2042 expirations, which, is a fact. We're starting to see that more and more now with the pricing of the 2042s, coming down a bit. So, but yes, the dues are absolutely a factor in that. I mean, we sold, I'm sure some people saw it. We had a Vero Beach listed for $28 per point. And I mean, that's crazy, right? But it was stripped till I think 2026 or 2027. So, if you think about it that way, you're only getting like 15 sets of points, something like that. And the dues were $3,000 a year. So while it kind of is enticing and looks good when you actually kind of sit down and do the math, I mean, I'm not saying it was a bad deal, but there's probably better deals out there.
Yeah, it's really, those resorts are designed for people who want a low upfront buy-in right now. So maybe they're not afraid of the long-term dues, but they're afraid of like a big outlay of cash now. So if you can just imagine a 100-point contract, 6,600 for Hilton Head versus 25,000 for a Grand Cal here.
Yeah,
so
that's a huge difference. Yes,
significant, right? Yeah. It's really significant when you start to see this.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want the dues bill coming in my way. That's the only thing. I'd cry when I got
I'm with you.
So
I'm with you as well.
But for those who want to go to Vero, in the peak times, you do really need that as a home resort. It's, there's a smaller window for Hilton and Vero. So, it makes sense for a lot of people to buy there.
If I lived close enough that my family could commute there to those beach cottages, having a big family reunion in the beach cottage would be an amazing experience.
Yeah. Yep.
But enough people have bought them that they're rarely available at 11 months. So
yeah, they're amazing.
You've got your own little private cottage right there overlooking the ocean. And from that second story, I believe you can see over the sea grapes kind of barrier that we have there to protect the turtles. And full ocean view. It's amazing.
Yeah, my friend got married
from Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I had a friend who got married in one of those, obviously a small wedding, but it was so nice. Such a nice setting.
Okay, let's come to some listener comments here. So ASKR is saying my BLT, Bay Lake Tower ROFR, passed last month, 155 at 125 a point. And they bought a direct Riviera 90 days to close, waiting on Poly to update to see if they can get a 150 at 178 a point.
Okay.
So very nice.
That's a good price for Bay Lake for sure. 125 a point.
That's a great price for Bay Lake.
It's a good deal.
So, and the fact that it passed ROFR at that is even better. But
yeah,
in looking at that, if we come back over, we haven't seen, they've been crickets on Bay Lake all year.
And Copper Creek. And I think we've talked about this in previous shows, Chad. I just think those are 2 very undervalued resorts right now. 125 for Bay Lake. That's great. Low dues, across from the Magic Kingdom. That would be my purchase if I was buying more points right now.
Oh, yeah. And then he corrects it, or she does, saying it was a typo at 123 a point.
Even better.
Which is even better.
Man.
Okay, it just gets better.
It does.
And they were saying from the research I did, points were not a major factor. It doesn't matter if it was stripped or a loaded contract. And do you have any thoughts there, Jodi, as to what happens to ROFR if it's stripped or loaded? Because that's really not stuff that you guys track and publish here.
That's true. I've looked into it before, mostly when they were really aggressively, but when Disney was buying a bunch back. And while it's true that there wasn't a lot of rhyme or reason, because there would be ones that were loaded and weren't. But of course, it all boils down to price, right? So if something's fully loaded, naturally the price per point is going to be higher than one that's stripped. So you could kind of say in some ways like that would affect the buyback and all of that. But also there was also some that just passed and didn't. And so I honestly could, to that person's, point, I couldn't really find a specific trend that I could follow either. So they've got a point.
Yeah, but it does make sense what you're saying. If it's stripped, the prices are lower.
Right.
and it's a little bit more attractive. Now, Disney knows they're not getting the points either, but
They
so
can put some
it
in
can
there
vary.
yeah.
And I think the best wisdom we have on passing ROFR is the mouse buys what the mouse wants. And we don't really know because, like, if we look back at that this year, they bought an Animal Kingdom back last August and then haven't touched it since.
I know. So,
and right now they're selling, like, what is it? Animal Kingdom, Bay Lake Tower, and Saratoga on a special, like, resale closed out inventory incentives. And we haven't started to see them restock their replenishment of points.
Right.
Because the way this works is they ran a huge sale on Old Key West and kind of blew out their inventory and got more requests than they had. So they had to start buying it back.
Yeah, Old Key West makes sense.
In order to come back in and meet this, right? So we should start to see these other resorts that they're putting on incentives start to get bought back when they run out of points.
Yes.
They have to keep inventory to sell things as well. And the way they get their inventory is they steal deals off the resale market and through right of first refusal.
Just surprised that I'm not seeing Bay Lake there or Copper Creek. But who knows? Maybe they'll, you never know what, like we were just saying, you never know what they're going to do. And one month we could just get an influx of them coming in. We never know what's up their sleeves.
Yeah, we just don't know. And so Anna's saying, being new to DVC, I'm curious, has ROFR ever bought a contract that had double, triple, or strip points?
Oh, yeah.
So
all of the above.
Yeah, they bought back everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything under the sun here, right?
For sure. Yep.
And then this is a great follow-up. Now that I have my contract, the mouse can ROFR all the other BLT that it wants.
Right.
I can kind of appreciate that,
sure.
Until you're ready to buy more BLT and add on, because that's an amazing resort. And with some amazing dues and some amazing value and some amazing rental. Yeah, it's one that it was my primary resort before I sold them all to buy the house down here in Orlando. And I completely agree with you there.
Yeah.
And then Frank is saying when will the bottom fall out of Beach Club or Boardwalk due to the 2042 expiration?
Hey, Glenn.
And so
Glenn's one of my clients. I think it's coming. I mean, we're not going to see them go up more, again, month to month, will there be a $1 or $2 fluctuation? Maybe because we sold a bunch of small contracts or large contracts, possibly. But I think the 2042s are, we always wondered, okay, at what point is this going to start to factor into the pricing? I would have thought it would have happened years ago. I was wrong because those prices kept going up, but now we're seeing them level out and they're going to start to go down.
Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, I think I sold mine for like 169, 170-ish a point at Beach Club.
Yeah.
So we've started to see the slide,
mm-hmm.
and Boardwalk has always trailed Beach Club by a little bit. And I think it's just due to there's a bigger resort there with more points out on Boardwalk.
Yes.
And Beach Club was one of the smaller ones at Walt Disney World.
Right.
So the smaller, more boutique, the less supply and demand.
Sure. Right.
The less points there are out there in existence, the less there's going to be in resale, and the greater the premium is going to be.
Right.
Which is why we see Grand Cal so high, because it is the smallest DVC resort.
And arguably one of the best, my home state.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It is my top three for sure, but top three. Needs a refurb, but top three.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to start to see some reality set in when we get under 15 years. I think it's really going to start to hit people, because at some point in time, closing costs on all of this
mm-hmm.
is also going to factor into the resale price. And people are going to start going, well, I only have like 10 years left to do this. And then if they go to resell it in 7 years and it has 3 years, what's it really going to be worth?
Yeah, at that point, you're, when there's only like 3 or 5 years left, you're kind of almost selling them at slightly above what rental rates would be, right? Because now it's almost
mm-hmm.
like you're buying 3 years worth of points from somebody as opposed to taking over a whole contract. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think the one thing I always wonder is, when we get down to like 7 years or 5 years, what prices are we going to see and what's going to happen and how quickly I think it'll start to snowball as the time gets, shorter and shorter.
What's Disney going to do there? The D factor, right? What are they going to come back in and do? So if they start looking at this and they're going, hey, it's 2032 and we have 10 years left till we get all of these points back, which resorts are we going to re-up for another 50 years? Which are we going to bulldoze? What are we going to do with these? And are we going to give existing members any extension offers, which would be the most logical thing for them to do, is to come in with the existing owners and just call them up and say, hey, here's your offer. And then they mail them all a letter. And if you want it, sign here and pay this amount and kind of re-up the deal. I think that would be like easy to get some extensions on there.
Yeah, especially for the
if the extensions are really good. Yeah.
I would Beach Club
could
and Boardwalk for sure, since those are the most desirable of the ones expiring in 2042. I know when I worked at Disney, the rumor and that went around with everybody was Boardwalk was going to be the next one that they offer the extension on. But, I haven't worked at Disney in 10, 15 years. So, if they haven't done it yet, it could have just been rumor, but it'd be interesting if that does end up being the first one they do.
Yeah, I think Boardwalk and Beach Club would be the easiest for them to resell. I think the beach resorts would be the hardest.
For sure.
And I think, back to my original point, I think what Disney does with those, if they come back in and say, hey, existing owners, here's your contract to extend or renew or re-up, and it's a pretty fair deal, people are going to take it.
Yeah, they should.
And if that deal will come back over to resale buyers as well, that's going to drive the price up. So, for example, if this letter comes out and I go to sell Glenn my beach club contract and I don't exercise it, but he does, and he can step in as the buyer at that, I think that's going to hold the market value up for resale a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah.
But then buyers could also be looking at it going, well, we know they're going to sell the points that existing owners don't take, so we'll just wait and buy it directly from Disney. We just don't know there. It could happen to anything as well.
I will say this, if and when they do offer the extension, and if you're, kind of on the fence, I would say do the extension, because a lot of people were like kicking themselves, because when Disney first started with the old Key West, it was only like $15 a point to add on. Then it went to $25. So it's like, you almost paid double to add on just by, doing the extension just by waiting. So I would say do it sooner rather than later, if and when they do offer that extension.
Yeah. And then I've also got the theory as well, same with this listener, that Hilton Head and Vero equals sell to some other company. They're just going to fold them in and be done with it.
I was thinking that. I didn't want to say it and cause panic because it's only speculation, but it would make sense that they get rid of those and or just keep them as cash hotels. Possibly, but I mean, if I were
cash
Disney,
demand is there.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Let me tell you something. The people who love those resorts are super fans of those resorts. And I finally got to take my family to Hilton Head this summer. They all loved it and they wanted to come back. It's on our list of, yes, we want to go to another time. Maybe not next year, maybe not anytime soon, but it was also, hey, 3 nights isn't enough. You need to book us a Sunday through Friday here.
Well, that's nice.
And really to just kind of relax and enjoy the resort and everything else that goes with it. We'll definitely go back before 2042 comes in and hits. It's on our bucket list. Sure.
And I think it's a nice, there's a lot of people that live up on the East Coast and do road trips down here. And I always, when I worked at Disney, say, stop in, a couple days in Hilton Head when you're making your way down and just get a different experience. And also, I say the same thing. If people are here for a while, head over to Vero. We have beautiful beaches in Florida and some people never see them. They come for 2 weeks and never see a beach. So I think it's great that they have both options.
Yeah, that is. And last thing I want to talk about today, Jodi, on today's show is y'all need to get onto their email list, especially if you're shopping right now, because this contract came out as a red hot deal. And I think, Jodi, you closed with this one this week, didn't you?
I did sell that at a subsidized dues Aulani with double points. So that was a really good deal. In fact, this happens often. The buyer who bought it was calling me from Aulani. People get to Aulani and they're like, I love this. I want more. And so he was one of them and bought the contract.
Yeah, but double point September. So he's like that use share still hasn't even started yet.
Right.
So he has a full year. Probably by the time he closes, he can still do an 11-month booking next August if they want to go back to Aulani.
Yeah.
And an 11-month book that. So that's just amazing. And then these are the cheapest dues in all of Walt Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And so red hot deals like this, guys, you need to kind of follow them on social media, get on their email list for things along those lines, because things like this pop up. I looked at it and I drooled, and I just looked and I went, I just don't have anywhere close to $81,000
just laying around
that I could do this.
Yeah.
But this would have been it. Okay.
Oh, it was a
I
great
don't care
deal.
that it doesn't match my use share. I've got 11-month advantage at Aulani. I've got the cheapest network dues out there. This was an amazing deal. And I kind of wish I would have had 81 grand, because I was thinking about
Yeah, well,
I was definitely thinking about it.
Well, if we get another one, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you and Danny. I'm surprised I didn't get a text from her on this one, because normally every time an Aulani subsidized dues comes up, I'm on her text list.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's a little crazy. She knows my weak spot and just keeps hitting me on it, Jodi. She knows my weak spot. So anyways, Jodi, I want to thank you for being on the show and move into our wrap up here. If you have more questions or you want to talk DVC with somebody, you can reach out to Jodi, Jodi, at dvcresalemarket.com, 407-325-7116. Text, email, call, reach out however you feel like, right?
All of the above.
All of the above. And you guys work insanely crazy hours. I guess if you're sleeping or down, you won't answer. But other than that, they answer pretty darn quick. So I can tell you that from all of my text and conversations with Jodi back and forth, setting up shows and planning and doing all of our research here.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other final words of thoughts or listings or anything you want to highlight, Jodi? Open mic here.
We do have an awful lot of inventory at Polynesian right now. So if folks are interested in getting on that bandwagon before Disney starts selling it, we've got plenty to choose from. And I also, again, Bay Lake Tower and Copper Creek, I think are great deals right now.
we've been saying that for like 6 months now. Bay Lake Tower, Copper Creek. But I just pulled it up. You've got 86 active listings at the Polynesian right now. I think every Polynesian owner is going, look at that high price. I'm out. Because if you bought in this early on, when this was going on, it was in the 130s, 140s a point.
Yes, which would probably explain why there's still some inventory there. I think people got, excited when they saw the prices go up and then the low inventory. And we've seen it happen a lot. It happened with Grand Cal not too long ago. And, where the prices are high because the inventory is limited. And then it gets to a point where it's stupid high, right? If I'm being honest. And then people just say, okay, enough. But then they sit. So there might be some good deals to be had.
Yeah, I just did some quick math, and 28.5% of your listings are Polynesian right now.
Oh, you are a little math nerd, aren't you? Doing that real quick.
Yeah. I mean, when we say poly listings are in abundance, and once the incentives hit on that and people start to see what's going to happen, there might be some sellers that become a little more motivated to sell.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out on that. Again, if you guys have questions, Jodi at dvcresalemarket.com, 407-325-7116. And I think that puts this show in the books, Jodi.
All right. Well, have a good weekend. Rest of the weekend, everybody.
All right. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Your contributions and support really help us out. And thank you to our sponsors as well, DVC Resale Market, DVC Rental Store, and Monera Financial. Hopefully you learned something in today's show that'll help you appreciate your DVC contract a little bit more, or help make an educated buying and selling decision for what's right for your family. That's the heartbeat of our show, is for you guys to make great decisions. And we've got great people like Jodi that can help you come back in and make those decisions and execute them and everything that goes with it, from rental, resale, or finance. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next time. Have a great night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your head and step as you exit, and take small children by the hand.
Aw, chill up, Dad. You know I'll come back. With DVC.
My DVC Points is an unofficial Disney-inspired podcast created by fans of Disney Vacation Club. The thoughts expressed in this podcast are personal opinions and personal experiences. My DVC Points is not affiliated with Disney Vacation Club, the Walt Disney Companies, or any subsidiaries. We encourage listeners to contact their DVC guide or member services for official DVC policies.